Okay, guys, I'm going to do a little video on the murder of Gambino boss Frank Cali. It says here that the guy who murdered him killed him supposedly because he wanted to date his niece and the man was standing in his way. He left his fingerprints on the license plate and maybe wore his heart on his sleeve. A law enforcement source told Pix 11 News on Saturday that Anthony Comello, the 24-year-old suspect in the gangland murder of Gambino crime boss Francesco "Frank" Cali, wanted to date one of Cali's nieces. Comello was allegedly upset by Cali's family standing in the way. Comello of Arlingtonville, Staten Island, is accused of pumping 10 bullets into Cali Wednesday night after allegedly smashing into Cali's Cadillac SUV with a blue pickup truck and exchanging tense words with the alleged godfather outside of Cali's stately Totted Hill home. It was the first execution of a mob boss in New York City in more than 30 years. Gambino godfather Paul Castellano was ambushed outside Spark Steakhouse in December 1985, paving the way for John Gotti to ascend to organized crime ladder to the position of Dapper Don. Cali allegedly had strong ties to the Sicilian mob. Surveillance footage shows Cali's shooter handing the 53-year-old crime boss the damaged license plate from his SUV, then firing on Cali. When Cali tried to hide behind his vehicle, Comello allegedly ran him over. Comello was being held Saturday at Ocean City Jail in New Jersey after being picked up in the early hours of Saturday by federal marshals at his house in Brick. Comello's fingerprints were found on Cali's license plate, sources said a murder warrant is expected to be drawn up by the Richmond County District Attorney's Office in Staten Island, and Comello will likely be transported to New York after extradition hearing is held in New Jersey. Comello's initially speaking to investigators, but then retained a lawyer and stopped talking, officials said. This was not a random act, NYPD Chief Detective Dermot Shea said Saturday during a press conference announcing the arrest. While Shea said investigations have not ruled anything out, even probing whether Comello was hired to kill Cali, several sources said that he didn't seem to be a traditional organized crime hit, believing it was something more personal. As news of the arrest emerged on social media, the daughter of the late Gambino godfather John Gotti tweeted, "I can't wait to see all the apologies to my uncle." Angela Gotti was referring to early speculations that her uncle, Gene Gotti, just released from prison last year, was somehow behind the hit. Some kind of power struggle. Police didn't believe that this was the case, and some law enforcement felt early on this was connected to a personal beef. Whether the reporter retweeted Angel Gotti's post observing that some people thought that the murder suspect may have had a screw loose, Angel Gotti responded, tweeting, "A screw loose? He had all screws lost. I can't wait to see all the apologies to my uncle and his grandchildren. R.I.P. Frank Cali." Okay? The strapping 6'3" green-eyed Comello was working odd jobs and was considered something of an oddball, according to sources. Comello's Facebook page said he once attended Tottenville High School on Staten Island, which is really not that important. I mean, yes, it's been 30 years since a crime boss was murdered in New York City. So, you know what I mean? Let's see what else I'm going to tell you right now. Francesco Cali, retributed boss of Gambino organized crime family, is fatally shot Wednesday night, Staten Island. in Staten Island at his home. The 53-year-old, who had ties to the Inzerillo mafia family in Palermo, Sicily, was taken to Staten Island University North Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Police say Cali was standing outside his white SUV when the ambush by a driver in a pickup truck. He was shot 6 times before being run over. The New York Fire Department responded at 9:18 p.m. to his home in an upscale Totted Hills section of Staten Island. The house is listed under the name of Rosario Inzerillo. Okay. The Gambino family was once among the most powerful criminal organizations in the U.S. Federal prosecutions in the 1980s and 1990s set up its top leaders to prison and diminish its reach. Cali had been considered an unifying figure in the crime family in the years after John Gotti was convicted and sent to prison by the cooperating mob witnesses. Like, we're not going to mention his name. Unlike well-dressed Dapper Don of the late 80s and 90s, Cali kept a low profile, which is what you're supposed to do. Cali was the first New York crime family boss shot since 1985, which I just said, when Paul Castellano, who owns a mansion on Tot Hill, also was executed. He arrived at Spark Steakhouse in Manhattan. John Gotti and his turncoat underbosses, Sammy the Bull Gravano, watched the action from 3rd Avenue, which Sammy the Bull is the one who ratted John Gotti out and got him in jail. Got him a life sentence. Gotti subsequently rose to power as Teflon Don before ultimately dying in 2002 from cancer. So that's a little background on Frank Cali and this kid. If the kid did kill him over wanting to date his niece, I mean, I'm sure he has some serious mental issues. Because usually you just say, you know what, I can't date her. I'll get over it. Let's see what happens here. If there's anything more. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it's saying here that he was lured out of his house. The mob boss emerged from his home around 9:15 after the government backed into his SUV, damaging it. With what we know at this point, it's quite possible that it was part of a plan. Video showed the assailant pulling a 9mm handgun and opening fire on Cali about a minute after they started talking. According to Shea, at least 12 shots were fired. Getting shot several times, Cali tried to crawl under his SUV to hide. Federal prosecutors referred to Cali in court filings in his recent years as the underboss of the mafia's Gambino family, once one of the most powerful and feared crime organizations in the country. New accounts since 2015, he has ascended to the top spot. The last mafia boss lost to be shot dead, which we already discussed in 1985. We thought those days were over, Mayor Bill de Blasio said of Cali's slaying. Very surprising, but I guess all habits die hard. Jerry Caprisi, a mob boss expert, wrote for the ganglandnews.com website, said Thursday that Cali is part of Sicilian faction now in control of the Gambino family. Caprisi said the killing doesn't have the feel of a mafia section hit. Frank Cali was a pretty likable guy, and also this was not a way the mob would kill one of their own. He said there are exceptions, but this is not the case with this guy. Cali kept much lower profile than Gotti and was killed in a far less spectacular fashion than Castellano. He was shot on a tree-lined street in one of New York City's less glamorous outer boroughs, a short walk from ball fields, a country club, and a day camp. Gotti with his expensive double-breasted suits and overcoats, silvery swept-back hair became known as Dapper Don. His smiling face all over the tabloids as prosecutors tried to and failed to bring him down. He became called the Teflon Don. In 92, Gotti was convicted in Castellano's murder and a multitude of other crimes. He was sentenced to life in prison and died of cancer in 2002 thanks to Gravano. On Wednesday, hours before Cali was killed, the reputable consigliere of Bonanno crime family was acquitted in Brooklyn racketeering and extortion charges. In October, reputed Bonanno associate Sylvester Zotalo was fatally shot while waiting for a cup of coffee at a McDonald's drive-thru in the Bronx. Last week, the longtime boss of the Comello crime family, 85-year-old Carmen the Snake Persico, died at North Carolina Hospital near the federal prison where he had been serving what was effectively a life sentence. Persico was convicted in 1986 case overseen by the U.S. Attorney Rudy Giuliani. Cali's only mob-related criminal conviction came a decade ago when he pleaded guilty in an extortion scheme involving a failed attempt to build a NASCAR track on Staten Island. He was sentenced to 16 months behind bars and released in 2009. In that case, authorities intercepted conversations shedding light on the quiet underworld commander. At a 2008 bail and prosecution, said Cali was seen as a man of influence and power by organized crime members in Italy. So, that is the story on that. I mean, in a nutshell. Kind of, I don't know, man. Just when you thought you were out, they pull you back in, as they say. So, my condolences to his wife and his family during this difficult time, which I know is difficult. Especially it happening right in front of their house. I couldn't think of a worse way to go out than that. I mean, yeah, there are worse ways, but you know what I mean. And now this young kid's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. Not sure if he was really wanting to date his niece or if he was hired to take this man down. And that wouldn't surprise me because, somebody's always right behind you waiting for that fucking spot. It's the way the mob works. All right, guys. Well, that's like really all the information that they're giving at this point about the incident. If there's anything else said or anything comes up, I'll be sure to update you guys. I don't usually do any mob stories, but I'm very actually into mob stories and the mafia itself, the Black Hands, the history of it, being that I'm Sicilian. So I may start doing, longer videos on specific organized crime members in the future, just so that, if you guys are interested in learning more about these people, and that, you're into mob information, that would be great. And, I'll enjoy doing them. So, this is the end of the Frank Cali, murder video. And like I said, please leave your messages and your thoughts in the comments, and I definitely will get back to you. Thanks so much, guys. Okay, guys, I'm going to do a little video on the murder of Gambino boss, Frank Cali.